I was staring down the barrel of disaster. Just 3 days from watching 5 years of my life's work crumble into dust. When that envelope showed up in my faculty mailbox at Sunset Ridge Elementary in the heart of rural Arizona. Inside was a cashier's check for exactly $100,000, the precise amount needed to rescue our struggling music program.
No signature. No explanation.
Just this lifeline that could change everything for the kids I taught. I had to track down this secret savior and express my gratitude. Little did I know, the donor was the last person I'd suspect, and their motive would hit me like a freight train through the desert. Let me rewind to how it all started unraveling. It was a scorching Tuesday afternoon in late February. The kind where the sun beats down on the Red Rock canyons surrounding our small town of Red Rock Valley. And the air shimmers with heat. I'd just wrapped up a lively session with my third graders. Their off-key but enthusiastic rendition of Home on the Range still echoing in the classroom. I was at my desk, sorting through faded sheet music and a collection of battered ukuleles we'd scraped together from donations, when the email pinged in from Principal Ramirez. The subject, budget update, immediate attention required. In my 5 years teaching music here, I'd learned that anything flagged like that meant bad news was brewing. Sunset Ridge was a tight-knit school in this corner of the American West, where families scratched out livings from ranches, mining, or the occasional tourist trap along the highway. Our kids came from hardworking folks, cowboys, mechanics, waitresses, who valued education but often struggled with the basics. My music room was a haven amid the chaos, walls plastered with posters of famous Western musicians like Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline, bins of rhythm sticks made from local mesquite wood, and a second-hand keyboard that hummed more than it played. But budgets were always razor-thin in Arizona's public schools, especially out here, where state funding felt like a distant mirage. I opened the email with a knot in my gut. Grace, please come to my office first thing tomorrow. The district board has finalized cuts to non-core programs, including arts and music. We'll discuss details then. Keep this under wraps for now. My blood ran cold despite the desert heat. I'd fought tooth and nail for this program, writing grants to the Arizona Arts Commission, hosting fundraisers at the local rodeo grounds, even dipping into my own pocket for supplies. We'd turned out kids who found solace in strumming guitars after tough days on the family farm, or who discovered confidence belting out folk tunes at community fairs. Music wasn't fluff, it built resilience, teamwork, and a sense of belonging in a place where isolation could swallow you whole. That night, sleep evaded me like a coyote dodging headlights. I paced my modest adobe house on the outskirts of town, rehearsing arguments. Research showed music boosted math scores and emotional smarts, vital for our at-risk students. But I knew the drill. When funds dried up from Phoenix, extras like mine got axed first. Core subjects like reading and science were untouchable. Arts were the sacrificial lamb. Morning came with the sun rising over the saguaro cacti, casting long shadows across the valley. I arrived at Principal Elena Ramirez's office early, clutching a folder of stats and parent testimonials. Elena had been at Sunset Ridge for a decade, a no-nonsense Latina woman who'd championed diversity in our curriculum. But her expression said it all: defeat. Grace, I'm truly sorry, she started. And that sealed it. The board voted last night. With state cuts and rising costs for basics like AC units in this heat, we're scrapping the music program at year's end. The world spun. Completely gone? I whispered. She nodded. We argued hard, showed the data on how your classes improve attendance and test scores. But we're short $750,000 district-wide. We can't touch certified teachers for essentials or support staff like counselors. What's the bare minimum to keep it afloat? I pressed. She checked her notes. Your salary, benefits, supplies, instrument repairs, about $100,000 a year. It might as well have been $1 million in this economy. You've got until end of March, she added softly. 8 weeks. I left her office numb, passing hallways lined with student murals of desert sunsets and cowboy legends. My first class was 4th grade general music. The kids filed in, dusty from recess.
Eyes bright.
Morning. MS. Harper, they chimed. I forced a smile. Morning. Young troubadours.
Today.
We're diving into harmony, how notes blend to tell a story. As I guided them through simple chords on xylophones, resolve hardened in me. If the board wouldn't save us, I'd rally the town myself. That afternoon, I sketched a plan. 8 weeks to raise $100,000 seemed like climbing a sheer canyon wall, but I'd seen Western grit pull off miracles, like when the community rebuilt the old saloon after a flash flood. I launched a GoFundMe page, weaving in tales of kids who'd overcome shyness through choir, or found focus amid family hardships via drum circles. I organized a chili cook-off at the town square, a talent show at the rodeo arena, and hit up every local business from the feed store to the diner. Weekends found me at the farmer's market with donation jars, pleading our case under the relentless sun. The response was heartfelt but sparse. Folks here were generous with what they had, $10 from a ranch hand, $50 from the hardware store owner, but Red Rock Valley wasn't flush. Many families dealt with droughts, job losses from mine closures, or medical bills. After 3 grueling weeks, we'd scraped together $9,200. It was a drop in the bucket, and exhaustion was setting in. But the real thorn in my side wasn't just the money chase, it was old Hank Whitaker. Hank lived in a weathered ranch house right across the dusty road from the school, his property dotted with rusted trucks and prickly pear cacti. For 2 years, he'd been our program's nemesis, phoning the office daily about the go-doffel racket from my classes. That caterwauling starts at dawn and ruins my peace, he'd bark, his voice gravelly from years in the sun. I'm a retired widower trying to enjoy my golden years, and this noise pollution's driving me nuts. I'd tried everything, shifting band practice to the far side of the building, adding foam panels for soundproofing on a shoestring budget, even inviting him to a concert to see the kids' progress. Nothing worked. He'd storm school board meetings in his faded Stetson, ranting about property rights and how the din was lowering home values in our quiet valley. He'd even hinted at suing under Arizona's nuisance laws. The irony burned. My program was too loud for him, yet too expendable for the budget hawks. Why's that old coot always mad? Little Jamie asked one day after Hank's latest tirade over our 2nd grade harmonica lesson. I glanced out the window at him pacing his porch, arms folded like a storm cloud. Beats me,
Kiddo.
but I'm too busy fightin' for y'all to fret over one cranky neighbor. For weeks in, our total hit $13,500. The clock was ticking louder than a grandfather clock in an empty saloon, and despair crept in like twilight shadows. Dreams plagued me of boxing up instruments, telling wide-eyed kids their music days were over, wondering what I'd do next. Teaching music was my calling, born from my own childhood in a similar dusty town, where a guitar pulled me through tough times. Then, on a crisp Monday dawn in late March, with only 3 days until the board's axe fell, I pulled into the school's gravel lot before the roosters crowed. The stars still twinkled over the distant mesas as I prepped for an early rehearsal with the 5th grade folk ensemble. The building loomed dark and silent, my boots crunching on the path. I flipped on the lights in my room, the familiar scent of polished wood and old paper greeting me like an old friend. But first, I swung by the main office to check my mailbox. And there it was, that plain white envelope. Thick and pristine, addressed in elegant, looping cursive. MS. Grace Harper. Music department. My pulse quickened. It felt out of place amid the usual memos and flyers. I slid it open, and out slid a cashier's check payable to Sunset Ridge Elementary Music Program for $100,000. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, checked the date. It was from the day before. Legit bank. No forgery signs. But no note. No name. Just salvation in ink and paper. Someone had swooped in like a guardian angel from the old Western tales, saving us anonymously. Tears blurred my vision. This wasn't just money. It was hope for dozens of kids who'd lose their outlet without it. With this, we could fund the year ahead, buy time for grants or sponsorships from Phoenix Arts Foundations. But who? Why hide? I pocketed it carefully and waited for Principal Ramirez. When she arrived, coffee in hand, I was perched in her office.
Elena.
Look at this. She examined it, eyes widening. Is this for real? Found it in my box at dawn. She called the bank Flagstaff branch and confirmed, funds good, no holds. Grace. Someone's just handed us a miracle. Your program's safe. But I gotta find them, I insisted. To say thanks. This changes lives. Back in my room, I scrutinized the envelope. The handwriting screamed old school, precise, like from someone who'd practiced with fountain pens in one-room schoolhouses.
No stamp.
So hand-delivered. I quizzed the custodian, Mr.
Lopez.
Who'd unlocked at 5:30. Didn't see a soul. MS. Harper. Maybe when I was fixin' the flagpole. Security cams were basic out here. Arizona schools didn't splurge on high-tech, but I reviewed footage with Vice Principal Torres during lunch. At 6:02 a.m., a shadowy figure in a wide-brimmed hat and duster coat approached the side door. Slipped in, headed to mailboxes, deposited the envelope, and vanished into the pre-dawn gloom. Can't IDM, Torres said. Knew the blind spots.
Though.
Obsession took hold. I pored over donor lists from the GoFundMe, cross-checking with wealthy locals, ranch owners, retired miners who'd struck it rich, who had 6 figures to spare. I visited the bank, but the manager stonewalled. Client confidentiality.
Mom.
Can't breach without a warrant. Just want to thank him, I pleaded.
Saw the
policies ironclad. Then, a peculiar shift. Hank Whitaker's complaints dried up like a summer creek. For 2 years, his calls had been as reliable as the monsoon rains. But post-envelope? Silence. He still lurked on his porch, squinting at the school through aviator shades. But no more ants. Coincidence? Maybe not. On a windy Thursday evening, as I locked up after a late ukulele jam, I spotted Hank on his stoop, watching kids board the yellow bus home. His face wasn't twisted in scorn. It held a wistful gaze, like reminiscing a lost trail ride. Impulse struck. I crossed the road, dodging tumbleweeds. He saw me and ducked inside, but not before I glimpsed a fancy fountain pen on his side table, silver-capped, ornate, the kind for fine script. Heart pounding, I knocked. Silence. Mr. Whitaker? It's Grace Harper. Just wanna chat. More nothing. But curtains twitched. Please. It's not about complaints. Saw your pen. Reminds me of something. The door creaked open a sliver. Hank looked frielier up close. Late 70s. Some leathered skin etched with sorrow. What you want? His tone lacked bite. That pen, do you use it for special letters? His eyes flickered. Guilt? Why were you a skin? Because an envelope showed up with writing that matches. And your gripes stopped the same day. Jaw clenched. Don't know nothing. Did you donate $100,000 to save my program? Tears glistened in his eyes. You best leave. Not till you level with me. You've hounded us for years, calls, threats of lawsuits under state nuisance laws. Then this gift? It don't add up. He wavered, then sighed, opening the door.
Come in.
Then, Hank's house was a relic of the Old West, sturdy oak furniture, Navajo rugs, walls lined with black and white photos of cattle drives and family gatherings. But music traces everywhere, a dusty fiddle case in the corner, yellowed scores on shelves. No sound playing, just echoes of melody past. On the mantel, a photo stole my breath, a woman in her 50s, warm smile, standing in a classroom like mine, holding a banjo amid grinning kids. Her tea read, "Music heals the soul." Who's she? I asked, pieces aligning. Hank lifted the frame tenderly. That's Maggie, my wife. Taught music here at Sunset Ridge for 30 years. It clicked. Maggie Whitaker. Retired just before I started. She didn't retire willingly, Hank murmured. Cancer hit hard. Fought to stay teachin', but chemo wore her down. Passed 3 years back. In spring. Grief washed over me. I'm so sorry. He set the photo down. Music was her everything. She'd come home dusty from the day, eyes sparklin' with stories, how a kid from a broken home found peace in strummin', or a shy one bloomed in choir. She swore music mended souls, built bridges in this rugged land. He gazed out the window at the school. After she left us, hear those tunes from across the road. It gutted me. Every chord was her voice, her laughter. The kids' joy mocked my emptiness. So I lashed out, called, complained, even talked lawyers about noise ordinances. Thought silencin' it would quiet the hurt. But you saved us, I said. He nodded, tears tracking down his cheeks. Saw your fundraiser pop up on the Valley's Facebook page. Folks sharin' how the program's dyin'. You fightin' back. At first, I thought, good riddance, no more reminders. But then I read deeper. Kids' tales mirrorin' Maggie's. Photos of M beam with pride, instruments in hand. Hit me like a stampede. That's her legacy I was cheerin' to kill. Hank turned away, voice cracking. Wrestled with it for days. Part of me craved the quiet to wallow in grief. But the man who loved Maggie knew shutting you down would erase her mark on this town. She'd poured her heart into those kids. Turnin' Sunset Ridge into a place where music bridged divides between rich ranchers and poor miners, natives and newcomers. He faced me.
Raw.
We never had young uns. Lived simple. Saved every penny from her teachin' and my ranchin'. When she passed, left me a nest egg bigger than I need. Figured it belonged keepin' her spirit alive in that schoolhouse. Why anonymous? I asked. We could honor her. Name the program after Maggie Whitaker. Shame clouded his eyes. Because I've been the villain, the bitter old-timer bellyakin at board meetings. Threatenin' legal action. Cruel. Small-minded. Don't deserve praise. Just wanted her work to endure.
No strings.
I stepped closer, touched his arm. Hank, thank you. For the kids. For the program. For sharing this. You've given us breathin' room. Time to seek grants from the Western Arts Council. Maybe partner with local festivals. He nodded, wiping his face with a bandana. Tell the young uns about her. Let 'em know music's a gift from folks like Maggie, who saw potential in every dusty boot that walked through her door. Better yet, I said, let's dedicate our spring recital to her. Kids can learn her story, play tunes she loved. Emotion choked him. She'd be over the moon. 3 weeks later, the school gym, our makeshift auditorium, buzzed under string lights. Packed with families in boots and jeans, the scent of fresh tamales from the potluck mingling with excitement. Program notes featured a tribute. Tonight's recital honors Maggie Whitaker, who taught music at Sunset Ridge for 30 years, inspiring generations with her passion for melody and community. Thanks to a generous anonymous gift in her memory, our program lives on, fostering creativity and unity in Red Rock Valley. Hank sat front row, seat I'd saved, his Stetson in lap. As the curtain rose, 150 kids, from squeaky kindergarten shakers to the ensemble's fiddles, filled the air with sound. Ghost Riders in the Sky swelled, then ballads Maggie had taught. I watched Hank. Tears flowed, but his lips curved in a soft smile, pain easing into peace. Post-show, magic unfolded. Kids swarmed him, not knowing his role, but drawn by his quiet presence. "You like the music, mister?" one asked. Parents shook his hand. "Glad you came means a lot." Hank's walls crumbled. He shared tips, like how Maggie tuned a guitar by ear under starlit skies. As folks cleared out, I approached. "Hank, want to see the music room?" Kept some of her old charts. Her way of organizing. His eyes brightened. "Lead the way." We strolled the empty halls. Him recounting tales, Maggie's corny puns that cracked up classes, her patience with strugglers, her belief that music crossed canyons of difference. She'd say music's the heartbeat of the West, rhythms of hoofbeats, winds howlin', folks comin' together round campfires. In the room, he paused, taking in the instruments. The faded "Music Unites Us" banner she'd hung. "Feels like she's just stepped out for coffee. Her essence lingers," I said. "In every kid who finds their rhythm. You preserved that." "Hank." He shook his head.
Nah.
"You did, fightin' when quittin' was easier. Showed me grief don't mean burying joy, it means channeling it." 6 months on, Hank was a fixture, ushering at events, tutoring after school on his old harmonica. The grizzled complainer had morphed into our biggest booster, even lobbying the board for sustained funding under Arizona's arts education laws. On Maggie's passing anniversary, we unveiled a plaque, the Maggie Whitaker Music Room, where every voice echoes eternal. Hank stood beside me, whispering her motto, "Music mends the soul." I echoed, "And builds bridges." Watching him chat with students, I reflected on that envelope. An unlikely gift had rescued us, but also revealed truths. Foes often mask deep wounds, and understanding turns enemies to allies. But life in the West teaches vigilance. Storms brew fast. Whispers started. Some board members questioned the donation's anonymity, hinting at audits under state transparency rules. And Hank? He confided a twist. Maggie's illness had left debts he'd hidden, paid off quietly. The gift wasn't just altruism, it was redemption. But shadows lingered. As the months rolled on like tumbleweeds in a high wind, the program's revival brought fresh challenges. With the $100,000 secured, deposited legally through the district's channels, no red flags from auditors, we expanded modestly. New strings for guitars, partnerships with local Navajo musicians for cultural exchanges. Kids thrived, their performances at county fairs drawing crowds. But beneath the harmony, doubts nagged. Why had Hank truly hidden? In Arizona, large donations to public schools required disclosure forms to avoid conflicts. Yet his anonymity held until it didn't. One blistering July afternoon, as monsoons threatened, I got a call from Principal Ramirez. Grace. Boards requesting a meeting. Questions about the donor, transparency laws. Nothing accusatory. But we need details. My stomach dropped. Hank had begged secrecy. But law was law. I drove to his ranch, dust kicking up behind my truck. He met me on the porch, looking wearier. Figured this'd come, he sighed.
Seat.
Over iced tea. Truth spilled. Maggie's cancer treatments racked up bills, hundreds of thousands. Insurance covered some, but we mortgaged the house, borrowed from kin. After she passed, I sold land quietly, paid most off. But shame ate at me, folks thinkin' we were set. When grief compounded debt, the donation, last of our savings. Wanted it clean.
No pity.
But under Arizona statutes, anonymous gifts over $50,000 need vetting to prevent laundering or influence. We consulted a local attorney, pro bono, from the Valley Bar Association.
It's fixable, she said.
File a retroactive disclosure. No malice shown. Hank agreed, emerging from shadows. At the board hearing, he testified, I gave to honor my wife, not hide. Grief blinded me. But this program's her legacy, vital under state ed codes for holistic learning. The board cleared it, praising the intent. But the reveal rippled. Townsfolk learned Hank's story, shifting views from crank to hero in pain. Donations trickled in anew, small, but steady, building an endowment. Hank found purpose, co-teaching workshops on Western folk tunes, his fiddle singing again. Yet drama simmered. A rival teacher, envious of our spotlight, whispered sabotage, tampered instruments before a big recital. Notes went missing, strings snapped. Paranoia crept. Was it payback from old foes? I investigated quietly, like a sheriff in an old western, checking alibis. Footprints in the dust. Turned out, a stressed student, overwhelmed by family ranch woes, confessed, fearing failure. We turned it to healing, counseling under school resources, channeling angst into songwriting. Through it, Hank and I bonded like kin. Evenings on his porch, stars blanketing the sky. He'd share Maggie's wisdom. In the West, life's a harsh trail, but music's your compass. Idinot. Reflecting on my own losses, a divorced past, moving here for fresh starts. The program became our shared redemption. As fall hit, with cottonwoods turning gold, we prepped a harvest festival concert. But tension peaked, Hank's health faltered, old ranch injuries flaring, echoing Maggie's decline. Don't fret, he gruffed. Just echoes. I pushed for a checkup. Docs found early issues. Treatable thanks to community fundraisers. Irony full circle. The concert night. Under a harvest moon. Kids shone. Hank, front row, beamed as they dedicated a medley to Maggie. Post-show, he pulled me aside. Grace, you didn't just save music, you saved me from isolation's canyon. Tears stung. We saved each other. Hank. In the end, the envelope's mystery unraveled not into vengeance, but into a tapestry of forgiveness and growth. Hank's gift, once shrouded, became a beacon for Red Rock Valley. We established the Maggie Whitaker Foundation, legally incorporated under Arizona nonprofit laws, ensuring the program's perpetuity through grants and local sponsorships. No more brink of collapse scares. Instead, expansion to after-school clubs, even virtual sessions for remote ranch kids during monsoons. But the real transformation was personal. Hank, once a lone wolf howling complaints, integrated into the community like never before. He mentored at-risk youth, sharing tales of resilience, how music pulled him through Vietnam tours, how it bonded him and Maggie on dusty trails.
His ranch hosted jam sessions.
Bonfires crackling as fiddles wailed. Grief didn't vanish, but it softened, woven into songs of remembrance.
For me,
The journey taught patience amid drama. I'd rushed to judgments, seeing Hank as foe, not fractured soul. The Trintam, sleuthing revealed layers, pain masked as anger, kindness in unlikely packages. Our altered ending? Not just survival, but thriving with a gentle lesson. Empathy bridges divides wider than any canyon. Years on, as I teach under that plaque, kids ask about the story. I share. Sometimes, the harshest critics hide the deepest hearts. Listen beyond the noise. You might hear a melody of healing. Hank, now in his 80s, nods from the back, his pen scripting new tunes. Music, in the American West, isn't just notes, it's the rhythm of redemption, community, and second chances. And that $100,000? It bought more than time. It mended souls, proving even in drama's grip, humanity prevails.